Wait a minute, I'm finna say good morning. That ain't what I say. Hold on. Welcome,
What
welcome,
it is.
welcome to the UnLearnT podcast, everyone. I am your host, Ruth Abigail, aka RA.
Hello, friends. It's your girl, Jaquita.
And this is the podcast that is helping you gain the courage to change your mind so that you can experience more freedom. And yes, it is morning. And we have gotten up on this wonderful Saturday morning
My
to talk to you
Lord.
people.
My
Quita, good
Lord.
morning.
Good morning, friend. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Look, we got our morning tea, okay? We are not playing the games, okay? In my monogrammed mug,
Do oh, it's a
like a good middle adult should, all right?
monogrammed mug. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have one. I have one.
Mhm.
Wait a minute. This is my water bottle, but it's got my full name on it. See?
Listen, at some point, in our 20s, people went crazy with the monograms.
I'm telling you.
Like when we started putting all three initials on things, middle adults have them on their cars, on their bracelets, necklaces, earrings. We just went monogram crazy. I don't know what had happened. It's like one big bridal shower. you know, when a bride's giving gifts, put their monograms on it, put their
That's
initials on it. Now they need initials.
don't you get a little excited when you get something with your initials on it though? Like
Listen, if I get something with my name on it, I'm keeping it forever.
it's pretty awesome.
Like, because I could never go into a store and find like Jaquita,
That's true.
on a little keychain. So whenever somebody gives me something with my name on it, I'm like, oh, thank
Okay, you know what? Y'all, we need to start adding hood names on in the stores.
you. I feel like it's time.
I
I
think
feel like it's time. All the eaters,
it's
okay, all the every name that ends with an A. It's our time.
your
Okay.
time, man. It's your time. I want to
It's
add.
our time.
I want.
Okay. You got a Q in there. It's our time. Right? It's our time. It's our time.
Okay. I think it's.
You got a hyphen?
Yep. You
You
got
got a capital letter? You got two capital letters in your name?
an apostrophe that people get misplaced all the time because nobody
Yeah.
knows where it's supposed to be.
Some weird accent somewhere and you're not French. It's our time. It's our time to shine. My sister has an accent on her middle name. And, her middle name is Marche. It's Marchee with an accent over the last E.
There you go.
And she was named after somebody named Martha. She just they was like, we're gonna switch this up. It's gonna be Marche. So yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
Anybody who's making monogram things put it in the stores,
Listen.
give this some thought. You have a market. There is an untapped market for this.
There's a untapped market is crazy. There's an untapped market for hood names.
There is.
If you get in right now, all right. Listen, inclusion is important. People feeling loved and respected and seen.
Yeah.
I want to feel seen.
That's right.
Amen. Get Jaquita on the keychain. Somebody give me Jaquita on the keychain. You can replace Ruth Abigail as my best friend. Okay, because she ain't gonna do it. So if you if you can replace, if you can get my name on the keychain, I got a best friend spot just for you.
Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Or whatever.
Good luck.
I'm a good best friend. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Okay. So, Quita, I have no idea that there's a real segue to that, but that was fun.
That was fun.
What are we talking about today?
Man, so we are discussing, all right, the importance of actually working on yourself, okay? And I think a lot of times we compartmentalize our lives, right? We say, I have a work life, I have a personal life, I have a spiritual life, right? I have this side of me, I have that side of me. And when I'm in this space, I operate like this. And when I'm in that space, I operate like that because I can kind of mold myself to fit these different environments. And what we're saying is, baby, go ahead and unlearn that. Go ahead and pack that ideology up because every part of your life is absolutely impacting other
Absolutely.
areas of your life. You are one whole person, and
Yes.
you are the person that is showing up in each of those spaces. And so we want to talk about how our personal life impacts and either improves or detracts from our professional life, and what we had to unlearn in order to whew,
Yep.
to get better, you know?
That's, man, you said that perfectly. Yeah, you are not three different people. And the the we were talking about this earlier, like the principle of integrity,
Yeah.
and just the what does it mean to be integral, right? To have integrity. And I think, Quita, you were saying it means whole,
Yeah.
oh wait, I'm coming back. Hold on, math is coming to me right now.
Uh-oh,
Integer.
my
An
lord.
integer
An
is a
integer is a
whole
whole number. Come on here.
Oh,
Come on here. We took a little arithmetic.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, tell me we don't know none.
And that,
We
and
know
that
what we're
did
doing.
you
We took some
educate
classes.
you. So yeah, like that word literally means to be whole. And so the idea of living with integrity is your everything is the idea of living with integrity means that you are showing up as the whole you all the time.
Yeah.
And I think the nuance is understanding that it's not necessarily that everyone sees every part of you. That is not what integrity
Yeah.
has to mean.
Yeah.
But it does have to mean that what they do see of you is true.
Yeah.
It is true. And
Yeah.
so understanding that there are you can only kind of hide parts of you that you want to hide for so long, because of eventually who you really are is going to show up in the room,
For sure.
and you don't want people to be taken by surprise. And I think, our professional life, I think for most of us, and most of you are who are listening, have a profession. You're doing something in the workplace, right? You have a job. You're at you're in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And like Quita was saying, we can think that we can compartmentalize who we are in work and outside of work,
Yeah.
and say, okay, when I'm outside of work, I'm gonna be like this. When I'm inside of work, I'm gonna be like that.
Yeah.
I- Even if you think that that's happening, it eventually will let you down
Oh,
because
listen.
if that person is not real, the real you will show up eventually.
Listen, I believe the young folks at one point in time was referring to it as your representative, right?
Mhm.
And you send your representative to go and show up in different spaces. You know, I think a lot of times we talk about it in dating,
Yes, I was
right?
about to
Like
say
when you're
yes.
dating somebody, everybody comes first with their representative, right? Hello. Hi. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm so kind and wonderful and absolutely a joy to be around, right? You come with your representative because you want to make good impressions, you want to be seen in a great light, right? But as we know in dating, eventually, if you continue to date and observe and get to know the person, what's real is going to show up. That
That's
representative rubs off. Right. And you cannot keep up the front that you got it all together. Eventually, who you are will show up. And the
yeah,
things that you've either worked on or haven't worked on will come to the forefront. I tell people character is neither good or bad. You are not either a good person or a bad person. There are just areas in your life that are just a little less developed than others. And if you don't put the work in to develop those areas, it will absolutely show up in your professional life.
it will.
Right. And we're going to give many examples.
It will. It
Many
will.
examples of what we've seen, what we've experienced, what we've done,
Yep.
and how we've kind of had to push through that.
And also just understanding that working on yourself personally is going to positively impact you professionally.
For sure.
And it can have the the growth you're looking for professionally first is most likely going to start off personally. And
Mm,
so I think a lot of us, we go through this professional growth, these tracks, and what we don't realize is that some of that stuff is not going to be possible until you get you together. And so I think that's what we, and hopefully at the end of this conversation, you'll be able to kind of identify some ways that you can grow in your job. And if for um uh what's what I'm looking for what's what I'm looking for, like a raise. I don't know what am I looking
Promotion.
for. Promotion, thank you.
Promotion.
Promotions, other opportunities. Sometimes
Mhm.
those things aren't available to you because you haven't your personal self is not prepared to go in that direction professionally.
My lord. And you think because you're good at your job that you should be elevated, but you have not shown them that you can carry the weight of that work, because
So
it's more than just a skill set. It's an
yes.
aptitude.
Oh,
And just because you have the skills to do it doesn't mean you have the capacity to do it, because you haven't developed the aptitude for it.
so I think one of the biggest mistakes that and I wish I had some numbers around this, and they're somewhere, and we can find them and maybe post them. Producer Joy, can you make sure to post this if we have it? So that the majority of people who are looking to be promoted, like when you go from um one area to another in your job, most of the time people are promoted based on how well they do the work in their current job.
Mhm.
And so what is falsely believed is that I because I'm excel here, I must also be able to excel over there.
Child.
And that's not true because, to your point, it's not just about skill, it is about aptitude and capacity. So, most
Mhm.
promotions are going to have more responsibility. And a lot of those responsibilities, and I think it's the other thing that is not always fully understood when it comes to um, moving forward and progressing professionally, the more responsibility you have typically means the more you have to deal with people. And when you
Yeah.
have to deal with people, you yourself, your personal self, is going to be the most important development you can have. And the way you deal with people outside of your work life is going to be how you deal with people inside of it. And
Yeah.
if you don't deal with people correctly inside of your work
Mm.
life, you will not
Mhm.
progress well.
Yeah.
And I've learned that over time, and just like having different roles that require um require more oversight, right? Oversight is, it's not about what you do, it's about how you help other people do what they do. But if you don't know
Mhm.
how to deal with people, you're not going to be good at that, which is also why, and a lot of people have a hard time with this. Managers, people that oversee larger things, even though it doesn't feel like they are always doing more, they're going to get paid more because at the end, because
Mhm.
you are actually using more energy across the board than if you are have a thing that you are having to do. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. The way I'm kind of seeing it in my head right now is that if you consider yourself, like your actual person, to be a dish, right? And your gifts and your talents being kind of what's being poured out of the dish, if you have a dirty dish, right, your gifts and your talents can be fantastic. You could have, the most amazing, sparkling, amazing, just great, productive gift. But if it's in a dirty container because
Mhm.
you haven't done the self-work of really pushing yourself to have greater character in areas that you need to work on, right? Things that are you haven't gotten somebody in your life, because we don't see all of our blind spots. You haven't gotten somebody or either trusted the voices that God has sent into your life to
Yeah,
show you, hey, your container is dirty, right? Your gifts and what you're pouring out to people will be tarnished by whatever's in your dish that you didn't clean up before you started pouring.
that's good.
And so you're thinking, oh, I'm pouring out all my good stuff, but it has fragments and particles of
Yeah,
all of the things that you didn't clean up and that you didn't work through. And they're getting both. And you think that people are tasting your intentions. You think that they're tasting your good intentions, and they are tasting they're tasting your own self-work is what they're actually consuming. People are consuming the work you put on yourself, and not the work you think you're putting in on them.
That's good.
You think, oh, I'm just so loving and so kind. And you always hear people say, I just give to everyone. I just sacrifice so much. No, baby, we're not tasting sacrifice. We're
Right.
tasting the lack of attention that you pay
Good.
to yourself.
That's good, Quita.
And it's and you think that we're reading your sacrifice, but we're also reading like the things in you that don't taste good.
Yeah.
We're tasting. Oh, she a little insecure,
Yes.
right? And she thinks because she's spending 5 hours after work working with us that we're like, oh, she's so loving and caring and kind. But you don't realize that while you were spending that 5 hours after work overseeing and managing us, that you belittled us, that
Mm.
you made us feel like we didn't know what we were doing, that you made us feel like that maybe we couldn't handle things, that you made us question ourselves, right? Because that's what we're actually tasting. We are not tasting what you think we're tasting. We're
Yeah.
tasting what's actually going on inside of you. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I have had to learn as a leader, is
Yes.
that it is not my intention that comes across. Like, I can have good intentions, but if I haven't cleaned up my vessel, I'm not going to pour out what people actually need, because I'm still going to be trying to serve myself instead of serving the people.
So this wasn't on my list of things to unlearn, but what you just said, I'm to give an example of that, man. I had a one of my colleagues who is we have high respect for each other, have gotten pretty close, and so we're pretty honest with each other, right? She's one of the people in my world who I can trust to tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And a while back, she said, "RA, you don't trust your team." I said, "What you mean?" She was like, "You don't trust your team. Like, you gotta
Yeah.
trust your team." And what I realized was, to your point, my intention to have a servant's attitude. I wanted to be there for them. I wanted to make sure that they had everything they needed. I was around, and I was there, and I was like, "Hey, what you need? No, you need me to. I got this. Blah blah blah." I'm thinking I'm helping them by serving them. What she's telling me is, you don't trust us because you don't there are things that you don't have to be here for. Like, we got it. We know you have other things to do.
Ooh, I'm sorry. This ain't towards you. Keep going.
And that
Ooh.
I had to really take that in. And then, to connect it to the personal, I realized I do that with everybody. I'm always checking
Come
in with
on
them.
here.
Like, "Hey, how
It's
you
not
doing?"
isolated.
You know, it's not isolated, like,
Yeah.
even here, right? Like, I've been married for about a year, and I have had to
Lord, it's been about a
that is something I've realized, like, I know, I know.
year. I
Wild,
feel like we just had that wedding like 2 months ago.
wild. It's wild. I know. Let's talk about
Wow.
that a minute, guys. Let's pause. Um, that's wild. But anyway, so I've had to realize. I mean, I've realized at home, like, when I ask my husband to do something, I I will, more often than I should, be like, "Hey, what you need? You need me to help you with that?" And he's like, I mean, I got it. I got it." And it's
Mm,
my natural response when I feel like either the timing isn't the way I want it to be, or the method isn't the way I want it to be.
my
I
Lord.
I show up as a helper, but really it's a lack of trust.
Girl, and see, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about. Like, you have got to dig a little deeper. You got to dig a little deeper. And a lot of times people are judging themselves based off of what they think other people are seeing.
Yeah.
Right? If you allow yourself to believe that, okay, as long as other people see me as helpful, then I'm good, but you haven't really really dug a little bit deeper to see what is causing you to do some of the things that you do and to move in some of the ways that you move. I think about even my own leadership style. I really tout that, like, I am a transformative leader. Like, I am going to inspire and motivate and push people to activate their potential and to work in their and get to their like highest potential and to work independently to do that. And I look back at that and I'm like, some of that is because I believe strongly in independence. Like,
Mm,
I believe strongly in, like, you should be able to, like, stand on your own 2 feet and make a thing happen.
yeah.
And I'm going to be there to support you. I'm going to be there to help you, but I'm not always going to, like, give all of the answers and provide all of the things. Like, I want you to go out and get it and figure it out, because I believe it's gonna make you better. But I'm like, even as you were talking, I was like, I realized that some of that is grounded in, like, my own, like, experience as feeling like I always had to do things by myself.
Mm,
And that there's like a sense of rejection there, that,
mm,
like, I don't want to be rejected. So I always, like, make it out the mud myself, or else unless somebody comes and I think they're going to be there and then they're not. Right. And so what have I been imparting on my team? Right. In the way of thinking that, we make these things idealistic. We make these idealistic principles,
yeah.
like, oh yeah, independence, go do
Yeah.
your thing. Right. But it's still, they're still drinking from the cup that I'm pouring from.
Yeah.
And the more mindful I am of what needs to be cleaned up in my cup, the better I can serve them to give them what they actually need,
That's
and
good.
not just serving from a way that I think makes sense because of my own experiences.
So, Quita, what is something you have specifically had to unlearn, or you think is important for us to unlearn about this false narrative of compartmentalizing yourself in places?
Whew, okay, so let me think. So of course you guys know we have a list.
We got lists.
Because this is just how we do. This is just what we do. Okay, so I'm gonna start us off with this. If you can't love and appreciate yourself, you will struggle to appreciate and champion the gifts of others.
That's good.
I had to unlearn self-loathing.
Mm,
It is just this, even though, like, sometimes you present really confident on the outside, on the inside you're like, man, I wish I could be more this, and I wish I was more like this person, and I wish that I showed up more like this. And, like, when I was in my 20s, I really struggled to think that I had the type of personality or the type of gift set that could be successful. Like, because I spent so much of my education learning ministry and learning the Lord. And when I got out into, like, nonprofit and higher ed, they were like, baby, don't none of that matter. Can you make a spreadsheet? you know, can you sit down and organize an 8-hour day to
yeah.
be productive? And I was like,
Yeah.
I did not I did not learn this. Um this is not how I was trained. Right. And I spent a lot of time feeling like I had to be someone different in order to be successful.
That's
And
good.
I spent a lot of time trying to force myself into a mold that I wasn't created in.
Mm,
And I kept popping out of it. I kept saying, okay, Jaquita, be more structured, be more time managed, just be more organized. And I would try to stuff myself down into that. But when you got so much on the inside of you that it doesn't fit the mold that other people are trying to put you in, you are going to pop out every single time.
yes.
Right. And so I had to, in order to really begin working on myself and to really be able to like seriously ascertain or discern my strengths and weaknesses, I had to learn to love what I had.
That's
I had to
good.
learn to love what I got. Like, I had to learn to love my voice. I used to really not like my voice. Somebody said something real disrespectful to me in high school, but I ain't gonna say it on here. But I go through drive-throughs all the time and get called sir. I get told all the time, like, oh, I just love your voice. It's just such a big, deep voice. And I'm like a man. Like what y'all trying to say? Right? That was like high school Jaquita and college Jaquita. I
Yeah.
was very insecure about my voice. But my voice is the thing that I use the most in everything that God has called me to do. I had to learn. I had to learn to love the gift. And when I loved my voice, I started taking better care of it. Right? I started being more intentional about, okay, learning like steam treatments, drinking tea, right? Drinking, staying hydrated. When I'm drinking water, I'm thinking I got to drink water because it makes my voice better.
Mm.
Right, among other things. But like if I know I got to speak, I'm chugging back water,
Yeah.
right? Because I know my voice is heavy. But when you love you, you'll work on you differently.
Mm.
And when you love you and you start to do self work, it is easier to love and champion the gifts of the people that you're leading because you don't see them as competition and you don't see yourself mirrored in them, but you see the beauty of who they are. And you're able to better develop people when you've learned to love and appreciate yourself.
And this is why I like the Strength Finders model so much, because it really helps people to love the best parts of them and
Yeah.
not focus so much on the difficult things. Because to your point, when you can see and cherish the strengths in yourself, you are able to do that a lot better in others. You mentioned the time management thing. I think this is really interesting. Very few of us are good at time management, if we're being honest. Like, we actually
No.
waste so much. I realized this is me. This is me. This may not be you, but this was me. When I got married and we have a 9-year-old, I I realized how much time I wasted before when I was single. I
Oh,
wasted so much time. I did not, and I would have said I'm a good time manager. And I would have said that in both areas. But
I
again,
would have said that.
right. I
Yeah.
mean,
About you.
I presented that. Like
Yeah.
I got it. When I got married, that changed. And what it also revealed is at work, I'm not managing my time well because I was getting
Mm,
things done a lot faster because I had to,
yeah.
right? And I realized, oh, like, nah, I'm not as good at this as I thought. So to your I think just that piece of it is really interesting. Because time management is something we always talk about as this really important professional principle that most people do very badly in all areas of their life, right? There's a according to a study at by Atlantizen. That's how you spell it. I mean, that's how you say that.
Jonah. I
Atlassian. That's it. Uh, yeah, it's I think it's Atlassian. Y'all can look up who exactly they are. They do some research around like workplace stuff. I have heard of it.
okay.
Um, the average employee spends approximately 31 hours a month in unproductive meetings. 31 hours a month.
Girl, who you telling?
Like and so this principle of, and so it makes me think that's a lot of hours to be wasting. But how much of our time do we waste outside of work too?
Man, a couple of things. One, when I teach time management, one thing you will also unlearn as you move from that young adult to middle adult is that the more that like you're responsible for, like as you walk in a room. So I taught for like 7 years, 7 or 8 years. And every time I would get to the time management lesson, I'd be like, dog on it. Because what you teach, you will get tested on.
Mm,
The students in the classroom are not the only ones getting tested. The
yeah,
people who are teaching also have to get tested in what they teach. It's just, I think that's just how the Lord works.
yeah.
Okay. And so I knew that the week that I was teaching time management, I was like, dog on it. This is about to be a week. And I'm about to see how terrible my time management is. Right. But the one thing that we teach when we teach time management is that you are not actually managing time. We
Mm,
don't have that ability, right? Time has already been set. You got 24 hours in a day. You got 60 minutes in an hour. You got 7 days in a week, 365 days a year. That is already set. You don't get the opportunity to manage it. You don't get to say, hey, let me steal 3 hours from Monday and put it into Friday,
Yeah.
because Monday's my least favorite day of the week. Right. I don't get to manage my time like that. I have to manage myself.
Yeah.
Right. I have to manage my energy. I have
True.
to manage my organization. I have to manage my ability to maneuver from projects. What I have learned about myself that I am trying to unlearn, I'm not good at it yet, is that when I am actually in a project, I am really good at managing my time. It is managing the time between transitions. Like, I don't manage transitions well. Like, when I'm done with something, I'm like, oh, I deserve a 2 hour break from that.
Right.
You know, let me lay back. Let me go see what the people doing. Hey y'all, how's it going? What's up? All right, I just got done working. Okay, I'm trying to, but my personality requires a great balance of work and play, right? But I have not mastered the transitions,
Mm.
right? And so I end up wasting a lot of time in between things because I don't transition well. Especially when it requires me driving. I don't transition from one place to another well because I linger, because I lag, whatever, whatever. As you all may currently know, I'm dog sitting.
Ah.
And
Is the dog
a
still
dog,
alive and well?
huh?
Is the dog still alive and well?
The dog is alive and very well. The dog is very loved. The dog is currently, I put her bed in front of my patio door where the sun is shining. She's laid out sunbathing, right? She is over there having a great time.
Wow.
Okay. And I'm proud of myself for that. I kept an animal alive. And I
Wow.
don't know that their owner necessarily knew that that was a concern I had. Um, But listen, we out here with happy, well-fed dogs. But I like, she has to be walked in the morning, walked in the evening, fed at both times, right? I am a very single woman.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Very single
Okay. All right.
woman, okay? Shoot your shot, guys.
Oh
Don't be
God.
shy.
Move on.
Don't be shy.
Okay.
Shoot your shot. But I operate on my own time. If I want to move a little late, I move a little late. If I
Yeah.
want to come home late, I comes home late. Okay, my job requires a lot of late nights. But I found myself like in the middle of the job being like, "Hey y'all, I gotta I gotta go." Normally I'm like, I'm gonna shut this event down with y'all. Come on. Even last night, we were doing a mini golf, glow in the dark mini golf. I was like, yeah, I got to leave by at least 8. That's the latest because I live an hour away from work. I got to leave by 8, y'all. So I got this dog. So what y'all need me to do real quick because I gotta go. I had to be so much more aware of my time, and I think that that's something that, like, as a young adult, you need to know, like, the things that you're praying for. Right, the promotion, the family, the titles, the all those things you're praying for. When I added dog sitter to my list,
Mm,
that added a different requirement
that's
for
good.
every other area of my life,
That's good.
right? The people at work don't care that I got a dog. They haven't met the dog. They're not in love with the dog. They don't they care if not. But
Yeah.
I have to be, when I show up in that space, I am now Jaquita the dog sitter, and
Right.
that's a consideration that I'm bringing into that space, and it changes the way that I operate. I had to move more efficiently. I had to move alone because I'm the one with the added responsibility. So last night I was like, hey, I'm gonna take all the snacks. I'm gonna move them to the other place. I'm gonna carry this. I'm gonna still do my part, but I have more to think about now. And I
So
think that that's how you have to think about promotion in general, is that
yeah.
you're going to have more to carry, and you're going to have to be more mindful of managing yourself.
So how do you see, this is interesting. How do you see your time as a dog sitter
My lord.
impacting you at work? Like, can you see how this can maybe like begin to put you in a little bit of a different mode when you're going back
Yeah.
after the dog leaves?
Yes, definitely. In that, like, I realized, I was like, this is actually really helpful for me because I am a person that shirks responsibility. Like I don't really want it, but when I got it, I'm actually pretty good at it. You
Yeah.
know, like I can manage it well, but I have avoided it as long as I could by the time I get it.
Sure.
But I will say that like it gave me a purpose to like what I'm doing. So
Mm.
like when I'm going to work, like having something constantly on your mind, thinking like not I'm doing it for the dog, right? But like a lot of my day became set up by the dog,
Yeah.
right? When I wake up in the morning, when I go to bed at night, and also the thing that I think I learned the most from this dog is that this dog requires so many belly rubs, so much, and so much attention that she doesn't necessarily give back. And there are times when I absolutely don't feel like it, but I can feel the Lord saying, you have to do it.
Wow.
Like because she requires it.
Mm.
Right. I don't feel like it, but she requires it. And a lot of time in leadership, in relationships, there are things that you don't feel like doing
Oh
and
my.
that you think that they should be okay with. One day I told her, I said, do you see anybody giving me belly rubs? Why you need all these belly rubs? Like, I'm not getting no love. I don't get no attention. I don't get none of this. You always coming asking for this. Like I got it to give, but I have learned that like sometimes being a leader means providing the things that you don't think the other person needs. But when you step back and evaluate, when I give it to her, she's fine.
Yeah.
It's when I don't that she starts pushing for it. And when
Yeah.
we make people push for the things that they need, we take them out of an element where they can be productive
Yeah.
because now they are focused on getting their need versus what can I do in this space to make it better? Like how can I soar? Because you have made them feel bad about a need.
That's
And
true.
so I have learned to pay better attention to what the people around me need. Like
Yeah.
they're not coming up to me panting and begging and, you know, patting my hand like she take a little paw and go, use this hand for what it's made for and rub my belly.
Oh.
Right. Like they're not coming up to me like that. But what are the ways that I'm recognizing that maybe I'm not meeting a need that they really have, that if they had that need met, what could they do? What more could they do if that need was met?
That's I think that's really really good, and I think so yesterday it's funny you were just kind of, especially I think the thing that kind of resonated with me was especially when you don't feel like it, like I
My
don't
Lord.
feel like doing this, and that kind of attitude is something that is tr- is transferable and will be transferable. Like how many times do we not do stuff in our personal lives just because we don't want to do it, right? And then look in our professional world and look up and be like, I just don't feel like doing this, and then things don't get done that you need to do. Bro, we all do it. Like, I mean, we all do it. Yesterday, so we're taking the girls at Angel Street on a trip to Chicago next week, and we're driving
Shut
our
down.
Chi-town. We're driving our vans, and so myself, really this was a family affair. Myself, the kid, and the husband all took part in preparing the vans for the trip.
That's
So
so beautiful.
my family's actually going to follow us down in their car. They're coming too. So Ty, who's my husband, said, the kid is this is part of his earning. He's gonna help to clean these vans. And he did. He's 9. He's 9.
Hmm.
And he told me yesterday, one of the vans, he was like, this looks terrible. They've got trash all in the van. They're worse than me. And he said, and then he told me, he said, you need to tell them that they have to do better. This is the 9-year-old talking to the teenagers.
Okay.
Um, and I said, you are absolutely right, dude. Like, this is pretty bad. I'm not in the vans a lot. So this is my first time really seeing it. And I said, yeah, this is pretty bad. Okay. And so, but I said, but you know what leaders do, buddy? we do things that other people don't always want to do. And
Mhm.
so he was like, okay. I said, if you're going to be a leader one day, that this is part of it, right? And he
Yeah.
will, because he likes to tell people what to do. And that's not to say that all leaders are like that, but he is just in a space where
Gotta know
he's
your leadership style, you know?
directions, giving them. So
Mhm.
so we had a really good talk, and he understood that, and he also understood accountability. He said, okay, and you need to explain to them like that this is unacceptable, right? And so I love what you said. It was a moment to really like, it was, again, we were doing something. This was our own personal time doing something it needed to be done. None of us wanted to do it, and it really wasn't our fault, right? None, we didn't
Mhm.
dirty up that van. This wasn't. I hadn't been in the van. He hadn't been in the van, but we're doing it anyway. And that,
Mhm.
it really it helps to um instill those habits of,
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it anyway, even if I don't feel like it, even if I don't think it's
My
justified. I have
lord.
to do it. I'm gonna do it anyway, and
Yeah.
those traits transfer into your professional life. And
My
so,
lord.
because you're gonna have so many moments where you're like, I shouldn't even be doing this. This ain't my job. It's not on my job description. All that we all have those moments.
Yeah.
What does it say about you that you're able to do those things that you don't want to do because you actually do them outside of the workplace as well. You do that. I don't feel like cooking today, but I'm gonna cook anyway,
Yeah.
right? I don't feel like driving to the store. I want to Instacart, but I'm gonna drive anyway, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like calling this person and checking on them, but they need to be checked on. I'm gonna call them anyway. That those are the types of things, like when we do those things, it transfers. And so I think,
Yeah.
to your point about the self-management versus time management, like though that's all a part of self-management, right?
Mhm.
um i i i I think the thing that the other kind of big thing within the workplace that people talk about all the time, is a negative, is procrastination.
My
And
lord.
I this is really interesting. Let's see. It says that a survey by Career Builder found that 25%, I'm sorry, 25% of employees admit that they procrastinate on work tasks at least once a week. And then it says like this can lead to significant delays in project completion and overall productivity loss. 25% once a week. Cool.
Those are the ones who admit it.
There you go. Thank you. The opposite,
Cuz
admit. Um,
listen.
and so I think that one thing I've had to unlearn about procrastination. I am a self-diagnosed procrastinator. I don't know many people that aren't, quite frankly. I think most of us are procrastinators on some level. I love also what you said, going back to what you said about really embracing who you are. Uh,
Mhm.
I am a procrastinator. Part of the reason I'm a procrastinator is because I realize I'm creative and I'm a creator. And
Mhm.
sometimes creativity requires procrastination because
Yeah.
you can't always predict when something's going to be produced.
Yeah.
You have to just let it come.
Yeah.
And for those looking on the outside, it may be like, you got 48 hours. Like, we got to turn this in 12 hours. I know. Like, I got it. It's coming. Like, it's coming. And so I've had to realize, and one of the things I've had to unlearn about procrastination is that it's not, you're probably not going to eliminate it, but you
Mhm.
can manage it. Like, you
Yeah.
can manage your procrastination and how it shows up. For me, first thing, you got to be honest about it. Own it. I'm a procrastinator. It's just what I do. I realize that. The next thing I think was important for me to unlearn is honestly like determining whether this is a natural pattern or a lazy pattern, and those are two different things.
Mhm.
Some ways I procrastinate because it's natural, and some ways it's because I'm lazy. For
Yeah.
me, the I am naturally going to procrastinate if it is something I have to produce because of the way that I just create, right? And so
Mhm.
I know that even if it's last minute, it's still going to be quality.
Come on
because
here.
because that's just who I am, right? But I've also had to learn about myself that if there's a difference between producing something and presenting it for me.
Talk about it.
If I'm procrastinating because I'm presenting it, that's because I'm lazy. I just have not properly prepared. Something can be produced. Like I can type something out, I can have a thought, I can put something down on paper, I can have the idea very clear. But then me presenting it is a different story. That's not some I don't naturally I have to prepare to present. I can't just shoot off the cuff and it be done well. I used to think I could do that. I really can't. It might come across like I'm doing that, but I'm not good at that. And usually when I procrastinate on that part, it's not quality. And so I think you have to
Mhm.
see like, is my procrastination producing quality or not? If it's producing quality, it's probably a tactic you're using that's just a part of your natural being. If it's not, you're lazy. like and I'm lazy. Like I am being lazy. I decided to watch one more episode. I decided to sleep for 30 more minutes. I decided that I'm going to, I'm going to be on the phone for another 45 minutes. That I made conscious decisions knowing that I need to prepare for this, and don't lean on your procrastination in areas that you're not actually naturally good at.
Yeah.
So I think that procrastination thing, I think sometimes it gets a really bad rap, but we have to, if you are finding yourself procrastinating, in real life, I promise you're doing it at work. But sometimes you might be able to manage it if you start to understand how it's working for you. But if it's not
Mm.
working for you, if you're producing subpar stuff, then
Yeah.
it's time to change that habit.
Yeah, I think the only way you can figure out if procrastination is working for you is that you have to examine the reasons why, like how you did, why you procrastinate, right? Because I think procrastination gets a bad rap because we are in a society that prioritizes people like being on a time schedule, prioritizes people being organized, prioritizes. I don't know why, but we continue to create this ideal human that we think everyone should be like.
Mhm.
Like there's just an idealized version of this person. Like I remember reading articles and they say successful people get up at 5 a.m.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm
Mm-mm.
not doing it. Okay. Like
No.
until the Lord moves me to, I'm not doing it. Right. Because I have learned that like when my best productivity comes in the evening. So people who are more creative tend to be more productive in the evening.
Yeah.
Right. Evening hours tend to just give more creative juices.
Yep.
Who's creative at 5 in the morning? Right. Like it just I think that like you have to identify identify again, it goes back to that point about loving yourself. Identify what your kinks are, like how you work, right? Identify like how your running system, your operating system, right? You have a different operating system, a different processor. There is a different chip on the inside of you that runs a specific way. And sometimes we procrastinate because we don't know ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like how I told you that like I a lot of times my procrastination happens in transitions,
Yeah.
right? The more that I'm able to articulate and really state out what my thing is, the better it is, the easier it is for me to work on it. If I know transitions are my problem, then I can prepare for the transition. I can set limits around it. I can say not I'm not gonna spend any time transitioning. I'm gonna go from one thing to the other.
Right.
That's not how I'm programmed. That's
Right.
not what the chip in me says. The chip, the way I'm programmed, the way I'm created says I need time between tasks in order to be productive again. right? That's the way I'm programmed, right? But I can put boundaries around that. I can say, all right, Jaquita, give yourself a 15-minute break to just do whatever you want to do. Go
Yeah.
talk to people, go eat a snack, go whatever. But like you have to be intentional. And the more you know you, and if you can figure out the reason why you're procrastinating, you'll be able to better manage it.
Yeah. Um, so I had a question for you and I lost it.
Middle adults.
It's gone. It's gone. It's gone.
Middle adults. It'll come back in like 10 minutes. Oh, I knew what it was. That's the middle adult way. It's the middle adult way. Those thoughts be escaping
That
us.
was a good question too.
Maybe escape. I don't know where it went.
I don't know where it went. It's a good question, but anyway, yeah, I totally, I completely agree. I think this understanding yourself thing is such a crucial element, um, of that. So, oh, that's what it was. Oh no, I got it. It wasn't a question.
See, there it
It was
is.
a comment. There it is. So you were talking about just the time of this idea of knowing yourself, this being aware of it, and there's kind of a principle I heard a while back that is breaking yourself into high energy, mid energy, low energy, um,
Mm-hmm.
breaking your day into high energy, mid energy, and low energy moments. Understanding what parts of the day do I have my highest energy, middle energy, and lowest energy. That's going to change for everyone. You said you're like, who's creative at 5 a.m. I'm not creative at 5 a.m., but I can get creative around 6:30, right, in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. At 5 is too early. That's crazy. But for
Still
like
dark outside.
I am, yeah, that's not going to work for me. I need sunlight, At for me, my best hours of like create creative mental stuff is between like 6 and 10. I could maybe push it to 11. After that, we're at a midpoint. Like we're
Mm.
okay from like 11 to 2. I start going down about 3 o'clock. Don't ask me to do anything mentally past 3. And that for me
Mm.
is, I can be active. Like I'm not just like I just feel like lying on the couch. Like I can be active, but my
Mm-hmm.
brain doesn't need to be like on. I don't need to put myself in a position where my brain is on 10 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Not it's not, you're not going to get my best. But
Mm-hmm.
that's something I've had to learn about myself over time. And then what I think is you learn yourself that and by the way, that does not change from professional to personal. That is the truth. I would prefer to do things in the morning. Like I want to have conversations that are like when I wake up in the morning, my brain just like starts to go, and I'm like I'm ready to really like engage my mind in something. So if there's a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, of depth that I want to have or needs to be had, or I listen to things that mentally stimulate me in the morning. Like in the
Mm-hmm.
afternoon, I'm listening to Smartless. Why? Because I have no desire to have my brain stimulated. I want to laugh and listen to dumb things. And so it's almost like it's a betrayal of my being to listen to something that I can learn at 4:30 in the afternoon. It just is not, I don't want to be,
Mm.
but again, that's knowing yourself and not feeling guilty because of that. I don't have to feel guilty because of that. Like
Yes.
I'm that's who I am. It's how I'm wired.
Yeah.
And that's
And
all the time.
yeah, and I think that the more you know yourself, especially as a middle adult, like, and I'm not saying that like we have fully figured ourselves out because
No.
life be life and you're gonna learn some more. It's just how it is, right? But the more that you commit yourself to continuing to learn and manage you, this is what emotional intelligence is. It is literally learning your rhythm, your likes, your dislikes, your learning your chip. You got to see, I got a special microchip that I have installed that nobody else has, that has programmed me, that is unlike anybody else. And the more I know and understand me, the easier it is once you know you to manage you. Then you can start having impact.
Yeah.
You can start understanding how other people tick.
Yeah.
And then when you understand them, you can say, oh, this is what they probably need to help them better manage who they are rather than projecting who you are on them and
Yeah.
saying, you need to be more like me. And this is how I do it. And this is how I operate. And I want you to do it like I would do it. Right. In my previous job, I mentored like college students at that point. I told all of them I wanted them to carry a piece of me, right? That they would, that they could, go and really impact, the campus with, because we were over again campus life, right? And I told all of them, you have a piece of me and I have poured into you and I want you to go and be great, right? That was that level of mentorship. When I am mentoring these young professionals, I have never told them you're just like me, right? I have never encouraged them to be like me, right? Because I grew as a mentor and as a coach to say, okay, I need you to know that I see you,
Yeah.
right? I see who you are. I see what makes you distinct. I see what makes you special. I see what you bring to the table that nobody else on this team does. And this is what I want you. This is how we're going to build a plan to craft your success as you,
Mm.
right? And I had to grow as a person to realize that I don't need to be replicated in the earth.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to
No,
produce little
yeah.
mini me's. I even have a mentee that I call mini me. She's still my mini me. I'm not taking it back, right? But at that time in my life, I needed, that was part of what was in my bowl that needed to be cleaned out, because it was something that was affirming me, that like my students looked up to me, but
Yeah.
I didn't have the capacity or the aptitude for that level to be able to say, I'm going to help you really like yourself.
That's really good.
And really, but now in the space that I am now, I've grown because I've taken some time and I have really learned to love and appreciate me. I've worked on my time management. I've gotten to know me. I have built up my own self-awareness, right? And I've gotten pushed forward in purpose to a point to where I can now help to activate the purpose of other people. Activate, we just started, but
Yeah, that's
I
good.
got
That's
there.
good. That's good. That's good. So, all right, so let's can we pivot a little bit
Sure, let's pivot.
to I was actually looking at your list over here. And this one that you wrote, can I read it and then you unpack it? Cuz I
Sure,
think it's really good. I think it's a good one. Unlearning avoiding decision making.
my lord.
Being indecisive is often a cop out. You got to tell people what you want and be responsible for the implementations of your ideas, because your go along to get along is going to stifle your purpose. That, my friends, is Jaquita Ross, soon to be Dr. Jaquita Ross. Will you unpack that
I
for
don't
us?
know about soon to be Dr. Jaquita Ross, but y'all stay tuned. This PhD is going to come one way or another, okay? One way or another, we're going to get this thing done. Listen, I am by nature, well, I'm not going to say by nature, I am by circumstance
Hmm.
indecisive, or I used to be,
By
right?
circumstance. What do you mean?
I would say that some of my indecisiveness was a trauma response. Like it was I don't know that people really care what I want, but I can make other people feel really good by wanting what they want, right? And so I would try my best to figure out what other people liked and then craft my likes to match theirs, especially if it was a person that was going to give a strong response when I expressed a preference,
That's
right?
deep, Quita.
It is. And I'm sure the counselors out there are like, slide her my number. Just gonna let me. The counselors are like, she thinks she need a man, she need a therapist. Listen, I'm working on it, right? But there was, especially in my 20s, that was Jaquita of her 20s. It was, oh, you like watching these shows? Yeah, that show's great. Oh, where do you want to eat? I don't know. Where do you want to eat? And it wasn't that I
Mm,
couldn't make a decision. It's that I was trying to make make the environment, keeping tension out of my environment, and me expressing a want or a desire presented tension, especially if I was around a lot of uncompromising people who
Yeah.
have since had to work on some of that. But right, I was like, I would express something I wanted and they'd be like, we're not doing that. And I'd be like, well, why do I waste my time expressing myself?
Yeah.
Right. But I had to learn to stand up for what I actually wanted.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't have a decision or a desire, right? It's that I was suppressing it in order to make my environment more comfortable
Yeah.
in multiple areas. I did that at work, I did that at home, I did that at church, I did that with my friends. I did that everywhere. I stifled my ideas.
Yeah.
Like if we were presented with a solution, I would just be quiet and wait on somebody else to come up with the solution.
Mhm.
Even though in my head I'd be thinking, "Oh, well we could do this and that. Well, maybe if we did this that could work," because I was so afraid of being called, of being made to feel stupid, or being made to feel like my ideas weren't good enough, or being made to explain my ideas,
Mhm.
when a lot of times as a person who is very intuitive, I don't always have an explanation. Sometimes I just know it's the right thing to do. Right? Sometimes all I got is the Lord told me. All I got is the Holy Spirit is leading me this direction.
Mhm.
Right? But I'm around a lot of rational, intellectual, people. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular on this podcast,
Wow.
but
Wow.
but they require explanation, and sometimes instead of giving it, I just go along with whatever everyone else says,
Yeah.
right? But what I've had to learn, especially as a leader, when people are coming to my door literally saying, Jaquita, what do I do?
Yeah.
Right, it really put me in a place where I could no longer cop out. I could no longer be like, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Right, what do you think is
Yeah.
best? And they're like, girl,
Yeah.
don't, I'm not the one with director in front of my name.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
like the more that I move forward and that God pushed me forward into leadership, it made me really, it wasn't that I needed to get to know myself, it was that I needed to be comfortable with who I was.
Yes.
I needed to be comfortable speaking out loud the things that I was hearing in my head. I needed to be comfortable sharing, and I needed to be comfortable taking the responsibility of implementing it and
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, this is what I think we should do and this is how it's going to get done. And
Yes.
I'm going to be responsible for this."
Yes.
Right? And so I had to, and it started off as a personal thing because I just couldn't get the courage to
Mhm.
tell people, like, regardless of what you say about me, regardless of what you think about it, here
Yeah.
is what I think. Here is what I believe. Now, if it was about the Lord, I ain't never been shy about that.
Right.
Hallelujah. But when it was about me
Yeah.
and what I wanted, what my desires were, what I thought was important, I shied away from that. And that showed up in my work.
um.
I
That's
don't
deep
understand the
though.
nervous laugh.
That's deep. No, that's deep. That's deep because there's just you said a lot, and like that's a indecisiveness. I think you 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 had to learn. You have to learn how to trust you as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the other thing, and this is just accepting. I think also this goes back to what you said earlier about accepting the gifts in others, where you can see the gifts in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let others' gifts rub against yours to create the best result.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's gonna be a rub. And it can
Iron
feel like
sharpeneth
an
iron.
attack,
Yeah.
right? And it's not an attack. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
it's just a healthy tension to say, all right, I hear that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm gonna add to that. And if we're not careful, when people add things to what we say, we see that as them invalidating it. But that's
Mm.
only because we haven't fully embraced what we bring to the table and say it's not complete. What I'm bringing isn't complete. I'm bringing something for somebody to add to. But because we have a desire, I think, in our lives to be the full package,
Mm.
We have we either don't put ourselves out there
Mhm.
because we don't want to be we want our full package to be accepted. And if you can't accept my full package, I'm just going to hold everything. and
Mhm.
and it doesn't help. We're not meant to be the full package. You aren't meant to be all things to all people. Put the
Mhm.
best of you out there, and somebody else, you give permission to put the best of them out there, and it creates something amazing that both of
Yeah.
you have contributed to, right? But that
Yeah.
takes trust in who you are, like you said, not just knowing yourself, and I would say even beyond being comfortable, but trusting it, that what
Yeah.
I'm putting out there is valuable. It may not be complete, but it's valuable.
Yes, and I will say, just as kind of like in addition to what you just said, that like yes, it does, like you do have to put it out there so that other people can make it better. But I think that something that I had to learn was that, even because sometimes those other people making it better was not better. Like sometimes other people, especially in the 20s, their brokenness, you are experiencing a lot. Everybody's growing at the same time,
Sure.
right? And their brokenness, sometimes the way it rubs up on your brokenness is not productive, right? But you have to focus on yourself. Is really key that you understand that your avoiding making decisions is also going to end up pushing you to avoid growing in purpose. You
Yeah.
have to start like implementing like the things that you want to see in order so that God can work out of you what needs to be worked out. A lot of times it gets worked out when we take the things that are in here and put them out here in front of us and
Yeah.
start actually walking through it.
Yeah.
One thing that I am actually currently going through is that like when I'm looking at my life, and I think you and I have had conversations about this, Ruth, is that like I'm looking at some of the things I'm doing and I'm like, I am doing this because somebody else told me to.
Yeah.
Like, and I have been doing it for a while. And it's not that I don't enjoy it, and it's not that I don't feel a sense of purpose in it, but I am also very much like, is there something else that I'm supposed to be doing?
Mm.
Right? And because I avoided decision making in my 20s, I'm now in my 30s trying to figure out, okay, what's my next step, right? And I remember talking to women who were in their 30s and they was like, "Man, I really wanted to be a lawyer. Or
Yeah.
I really wanted to go forward and do
Yeah.
this and do that, but I got caught up in life and
Yeah.
I started helping other people with their choices and their decisions, and I missed mine."
Yeah.
And I think that it is easy to get to that place. Recently in my class, I have them do this activity where they put together a puzzle. And I think I've talked about it on the podcast
Mhm.
before. And there's two puzzles in one bag, and then they start putting it together, right? And I start telling them, you have two pictures before you. You have the one that you can build for yourself, and you have the picture that somebody else has drawn for you, right? That has gotten snuck in your bag, and
Mm.
they're trying to present a different image of who you should be, but it is not the image of who God is leading you to be. And I told them, if you don't tell your story, if you don't begin to write your story, someone else will write it for you.
Yep.
And we all, I think, as middle adults, I think we get to a point in our life where we realize there are parts of my story that I didn't
I did
necessarily
not right.
want written that way.
Absolutely not.
And here's, if I can give any advice of how I'm maneuvering that space, is there is no one else you can go to about what the image of your life is supposed to look like other than the creator.
Amen.
He is the one, God is the one who has the picture that goes on the puzzle box. You got sent into the world and you have been spending your 20s finding your pieces.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm good at that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I think I'm going to choose this as a career path. Oh, I like this as a major. Oh, I'm going to get this degree and this certification. You are spending your 20s picking up your pieces. You spend your 30s starting to assemble the pieces.
That's good.
But you still don't know what the whole picture looks like because you haven't been introduced to all of you yet. The creator has the picture. The creator has the box, has the image of what your life is for. I know the plans that I have for you, plans of good and not of and of evil, to give you an expected end. God knows the expected end of the picture of your life. But you have to be intentional about saying, God, how do these pieces go together? And allow him to maneuver you through life in a way that's building the picture he intended, and not always allowing those outside voices to dictate what your life should look like.
And by the way, those pieces are not separated into work and family and friendships and relationships. It's not separated. It's one picture.
Listen,
It's one picture.
when you look at a puzzle piece, right? Puzzle pieces are not square with sharp edges, right? All of your puzzle pieces have been shaped. They've been shaped by your experiences. They've been shaped by your work life. They've been shaped by your personal life.
All
They've
right.
been shaped by your spiritual life, right? But they all come together to make a whole picture. So don't see it as I got to put my professional life here and my personal life goes in this piece, and I got to connect my faith life with my personal life and connect it right up here with my. No, all of me has been shaped by the things that I'm walking through and experiencing, right? And God is helping to connect the things that I understand about myself to build a picture. But it's all been shaped. I don't have separate lives. I have one person that's been shaped by different areas of experiences that God is allowing me to go through, that is helping to build the image of who I am.
You know what? Another area that we're shaped by
What's
is
that?
the money, the
Money,
finance.
money, 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 money.
So I love what you're saying about this because I think that our financial, I love when people talk about financial life and finances. um, it is important to realize that that is a through line of all these different areas, right? So like your when you talk about money, you have to talk about life. It's you talk about money, you're actually talking about your life. You're not just talking
Mm,
about currency. And
mm,
so the way you think about money is shaped by those things as well. And the kind of the last point that I really want to lean into, because I think it's one of the points that has driven my unlearning process. And it's not just about money. And I talk about it a lot to people. I always want to get across, like, it's not about money. It truly is about your future. It's about your life, right?
mm,
Is that we have to unlearn that our personal finances don't impact your professional decisions. A lot of people are stuck. Exactly. Okay. What you said, as far as, I there's a picture of my life that I'm not, there are parts of my story that I didn't choose to write, or that I'm accepting that somebody else has written for me.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get stuck in that space, be, a lot of times because they don't, because their financial life requires them to stay there.
Mm.
Because you've made financial.
Wait a minute. I felt kicked in the chest.
Oh,
Oh my Lord.
need to catch your breath a little bit. You all right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is because we, how do I want to say this? Because we have made we have made deals, we've made pacts, we've made commitments to things other than our story. And the
Mm,
currency we've used is money.
mm.
And the what I mean by that is, you know, we've signed mortgages, we've
My
signed
Lord.
contracts,
My
we've
Lord.
used credit cards, we've gotten to we've bought cars, we've done all these things. And when I say we, I mean Americans. This is an
Mm-hmm.
American thing. that have put us in partnership with people who are writing our story other than us.
My Lord.
So when you're in partnership with people that you owe, you don't get to write your story. Period. So it matters. So now I have these obligations I have to meet, and even though I might want to go in this direction with my career, I don't have that opportunity to, because I've signed contracts with people that say, "No, you got to stay where you are. You got to stay right where you are. You'll have to be there for a while because you got to do this before you can move on." That's not your creator story. That's their story for you.
My Lord.
We've got to learn that our personal financial decisions are a lot, for a lot of us, are keeping us stuck in other people's stories.
Whoo, wait a minute, Ruth. Girl, this went deeper than I thought it would.
It would do it.
Come
I
on, Ruth
thought it
Abigail. Okay. All right. I don't know why I doubted you. Go ahead.
would. Anyway, so I think that a while back, I made a personal decision, and I've shared my financial story and like the reason I'm so passionate about personal finances before in other podcasts. But I have I've been doing personal budgets for probably the last 11 years. Been pretty consistent with it, and understanding that I it is important to me to not be hampered by um to not have to have a certain amount of to not have to have salary increases in order to live my life. Not
Mm-hmm.
major salary increases, right? I want to be grateful for a salary increase. I don't want to have it. Um that's just how I want to live. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I
Okay.
want to live, right? That's me. That may not be
Oh,
anybody
no,
else.
no, 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 no. We celebrate you.
Amen.
We
Wait, Queen,
celebrate
why
you.
why you looking like that, Queen?
Oh, no, no. I was thinking about my own life,
No,
and how I need a salary increase.
understood,
But
right?
yeah.
And I get that, and I have been there too. And because I've been there, I said I don't want to be here. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to have to, like, expect somebody else to give me more in order to have the life I want. Um, I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to be free to make pivots and choices and decisions not based on a need, and a need that is actually, again, based on contracts I've signed with other people writing my story. You're not going to write it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write it. And so
Mm-mm.
I never wanted that to ever dictate my work, right? I
Yeah.
want to choose the work I do. I love the work I do. And the
Mm-hmm.
industry I'm in ain't finna pay me the amount of money that I
My
that I
Lord.
need to live, the life that I desire to live. It's just not going to happen, right? So I have to be very aware of how to manage my finances in a way and get rid of these contracts with other people that I owe, so that I don't have to keep giving my money away in service to a life that I'm not writing. That doesn't work.
My
I'm keeping
Lord.
it and I'm going to control it. And I so, there's a and that is counterintuitive to our American culture. I think it's 77% of people are in some sort of debt here in America. Um, we have relationships with credit and debt like unlike any other country in the world.
Mm.
Um, we so it is countercultural to decide to write your own narrative financially.
Mm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
not regular. Dave Ramsey, y'all have heard me talking about before. That's my guy. He is not the only guy out there, but he is the guy I probably listen to and follow the most. He's helped me the most. He says this: when you live like no one else, later you can live and give like no one else.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought of I keep that in the back of my mind often, because in my what I had to unlearn in my 20s. I had to unlearn that I was supposed to wait to get my finances together until I was making enough money.
Mm. Mm.
Do it now so that you'll never have to make enough money, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, right? I'm putting
Yeah.
quotes under that. Or I'm not saying work for pennies. you need to be paid what you're worth and what the job is worth. That's just. But if you want to do a job that just isn't going to get you the dollars that maybe other jobs and other people that you know are going to have,
Mm.
then you got to take care of your own lifestyle, your own decisions, manage the resources you have well enough to say, I can take that. I can afford to be making 10, $15,000 less than maybe I could make in other places because
Mm.
because I want to do this work, right?
Yeah.
And so I really want us to get that. I talk to a lot of young people, um, and sometimes it's like it's I think it's a mixture of doubt and lack of desire to change,
Mhm.
that is kind of keeping a lot of younger adults and younger professionals stuck in a situation where I can't stay at a job, I can't take the job that I really want, or I it's real cute to say, I'm good, I'm a minimalist and all this stuff, and maybe you are, that's real cute.
I ain't never said that.
But you're going to get to a point to where minimalist is going to mean something different than it did when you were 21.
Mhm.
31-year-old minimalist is going to be a little different, and you might require
Mhm.
a little bit more than the minimum you had 10 years
Let
ago.
me tell you something. That one couch,
What you said?
that one chair you got in your apartment ain't gonna be cute no more
Not
when you
cute.
hit them 30s.
No,
Why you only got one lamp? Hey, all I need is one lamp. I
all
cut
I
it
need.
on, when I walk in, and then I carry it around, like it's not.
That's great. Yeah, that's cute for a season. But if you ever get to a point to where you have to do that, that's very different than if you choose to. You want to be choosing your life, right? And the
Mm,
one of the most effective ways to do that is to manage the resources you have, no matter how much you have. If you make it 25K, manage that 25K. Make sure most of it is going to your pocket and not somebody else's, right? And
mhm,
if you have 100K, manage the 100K. Make sure most of it is not going to somebody else's pocket, but it's staying in yours. And so that takes that takes understanding a lot about yourself. It takes building small habits over time. It might take getting out of holes that you need to get out of and need to get out of
mhm,
quickly so that you can start living that kind of lifestyle that you want, that lifestyle of freedom. It's so integrated into how we are. And like I said, even more in the context of this conversation, give you the space and freedom to decide how I use
mhm.
most of my day, because most of us are at work most of the day. And if your pocketbook is dictating that, you're not in a good space. You're not in a good space. You're not in a good space. Anyway, what are your
Mm.
thoughts on that, Queen?
I mean, I won't pretend to be the financial guru of the pair
I'm not a
here. All
guru.
right.
I'm not a
No,
guru.
no, 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 no. I know that. I know that. I'm getting there, Ruth. Give me a
Okay, yeah,
moment.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Give
I'm
me a
sorry.
moment. But I do know that, like, where I am currently in my life, like I'm trying to, really orient myself in the next level of purpose that I feel God calling me to. And I have money requirements around that. Like, I'm like, I need to be making at least this for the next level of my life to come forward. Right. But I also, as I'm hearing you, I'm like, you have to be careful to not make a decision that looks good on the front end
Mm,
because it may offer more resources, but on the back end you don't know what you're going to lose
mm,
by taking that. And so when we allow ourselves to be governed by what looks like increase and not by what is the picture of my life that God is trying to build, right? Yes, a part of that is going to be financial wellness, but is that what he's asking me to focus on?
yeah.
And really making the decisions that are really going to push you forward in purpose, right? I'm realizing, like even as we're like talking about some of the decisions that we've made in our careers, ways that we've had to grow personally in order to grow professionally, like I'm realizing looking back through all of that, that what I desire the most
Mm.
out of my next move is the ability to say, and this is who I became,
Yeah.
and not this is what I got. And
That's good.
so
That's good.
when you are thinking about making a move or trying to work toward promotion, you have to think less about, "Ooh, what am I going to get from it?" and more about who will I become as a result of stepping into this new space.
Yeah.
And I think becoming a better manager of your finances
Yeah.
should be included in that. Right. I'm assuming that anything I take next will include more in some capacity. But if I focus on the more, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to spend it.
Yeah.
But if I focus on the I want to become a
Yeah.
better steward, then I'll gain something regardless of how much the increase
That's
is.
right. That's right.
And so in this, as we're kind of thinking through kind of pros and cons and loss and gains of what you want your next move to be, I always tell people, we are human beings, not human doings. And so continue to think more about who you are becoming, and less about what it is you hope to do with whatever you get.
That's good, man. Um, okay. What else, Quito? You got
Are we
anything
still
else?
going?
I mean, it's totally up to you, my friend. I'm done. I don't have anything else. I that is all I got for today.
I think we're at a good spot right here.
All right.
I think we're at a good spot. I think that I think a lot of what we talked about honestly ended up like moving towards how do I push myself towards promotion,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
like working on kind of like what are the personal things in my life that are impacting my professional life, right? That could possibly prevent me from being promoted. And I will tell you, as I work with young adults, are these young leaders, as we like to refer to y'all, as I'm working with them, the ones that I recognize the most leadership in are
Mhm.
the ones who are able to self-reflect and who can articulate to me what they have to work on to be better,
Yeah.
and actively putting in the work to push forward.
Yeah.
And when I see that, I'm like, "Oh, you got the juice." It is not the person who's giving me the best product or the best result. It's not the person who is like, "Oh, look at how many good things I've done." And look at it is the person who can say, "You know what? I realize that I really need to work on this. And I'm putting time and effort into making sure I become better in this area, because I don't want to go to my next level with this."
Yep.
And immediately I'm like, they got the juice.
Yep.
They got the juice, because they're going to be ready for promotion, because they're not going to go into it thinking that they got it all figured out. They are going to be ready to actually put in the work. The work it takes to be a leader, again, it's not about skill set, it's about aptitude. Your
Absolutely.
aptitude for self-reflection, and your aptitudes for growth and development, right? Your aptitudes to continue to expand, that's what continues promotion.
Yeah.
That's how you continue moving forward.
That's right.
So I definitely think we should put that in the title somewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, that's good. I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's where we've been moving towards. And we hope that you have done we've helped you to start doing some unlearning around this particular topic. And we would love to hear from you as always. And we would love for you to
Hit
share
us up.
this with the people that you
Like, share,
also could
subscribe.
that you share. Yeah, like, share, comment, subscribe. That's what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
Don't keep it to yourself. Let people, uh, you know, let people in on this. We want to build the community of the unlearners, and really help each other to promote. Right? I mean, to grow in promotion, and that's both personally and professionally. It's we want to grow. We want to move forward. Um, and it takes commitment and courage to do that. So hopefully this podcast is giving you a little bit of both. All right,
For sure.
folks. Until next week, let us keep unlearning together so that we can keep experiencing more freedom.
Bye,
Peace.
y'all.